Hi, I'm Gavin from the Academy, and today we're just going to look at the Leaving Cert business paper and to go through kind of what came up, what I thought of the paper that took place this morning. Overall with the paper, I felt there was a good bit in it for most students. I'd say the H1 student might have found it a little bit trickier in places. There was a few little curveballs. I suppose when the examiner's sitting to make the paper, they know that probably if Unit 1 is going to be a big focus for everyone, they'll throw in a few little curveballs there, and they did with the cooling off period and the collective bargaining that a couple of students wouldn't have maybe seen before. The cooling off period is showing how they want to keep kind of up to speed with latest legislation changes. So I wouldn't panic too much if you didn't get that, because not a lot of students would have covered it, wouldn't be in too many books, and they mightn't give too many marks, but they are obviously introducing it to the course. But the rest of that question was much more in line with what people want: competitive relationships, sale of goods and contracts. So I'd say a lot of students will be hitting the 50s out of 60 there, and fine for that. Overall, the shorts, I felt there was a good range of choice. It was 8 out of 12, so most students there, I'd say through the country, would have gotten 6 or 7 done very well, and most gotten the 8. Rewarded those that were going through the old past papers and making sure that they weren't just going off the most recent stuff, but certainly shorts doable. ABQ would probably be the one. I know, chatting to my students, it was the one that students would usually kind of find it the hardest part of the paper or be most worried about, and they found it challenging this year. I suppose part A there would jump out as being a kind of problem question. It was on sources of long-term finance, the ABQ was based on units 5, 6 and 7, and sources of finance chapter is in unit 4, and then it's touched on in unit 5 for a business startup, but it would be primarily seen, I suppose, by a lot of teachers and students as a unit 4 question. So I suppose it shows you that having a good range across the course and not cutting out too much material means that the student's going to be in a much better place. But in saying that, the way they wrote it into the ABQ seemed okay. Like they linked to savings, linked to a grant, linked to share capital, linked to debenture, and linked to a loan. So I think even if a student was struggling there, they'd be able to pick up a bit, and I'd imagine they'll look for maybe 3 sources of finance when it's actually corrected. And the other ones were kind of more obvious and were kind of nearly predicted: benefits and challenges of international markets and economic variables, which is very popular along. It was up in 19 and 21, so the rest should have been okay there. And then within the longs, of the 8, you only obviously had to do 4, and I think the way they structured it was fair. They kept unit 1 as question 1 and question 4. Question 2 and 3 were both very accessible. The question 3, the unit 7 question that a lot of students tend not to do that often, it'll be a low answer rate each year, was actually very nice, and a lot of students would have covered it for the ABQ, so I think that would have made a lot of students very happy there with that choice. And then kind of modern stuff that's been more recent, like environmental responsibility, was there again. So we're kind of seeing things. The national wage was up as well. We're seeing things that are more topical, more current, and students tend to enjoy because it's very relevant to them. Then there was a wage calculation and a break even. So the break even kind of came up as a long, which mightn't have been due up, but it's up nearly every single year as a short or a long anyway. So a lot of students find that tricky with the math side of things, but if you had a go and it didn't work out, I'm sure you might have scored very well, because you get marks for each part of the question and not just for having it fully right at the end. Similar with the wage question, a lot of students were asking about the company car. So technically you should add the company car to calculate the tax, and then take away the company car before you calculate how much take-home pay they have. But even if you didn't take it away at the end, you'd still be getting 18, 19 out of 20, so you're still in that H1 range. So overall, I thought the paper had a lot of choice, and most students would have found it pretty good throughout. And just, I suppose the top student might be a bit concerned that there was little tricky small parts of different questions. But shorts doable, longs lots of choice, and then the ABQ, I'd imagine when they come to correct it, people will actually do much better than they thought they did, because a lot of those links kind of gave a lot of the answers, like economies of scale was mentioned, and increasing sales. So I'm sure lots of students did much better. I know a lot of mine were saying to give extra points in places, and that's a great idea to do that, because you can pick up marks very quickly in the ABQ once you have your links in and some kind of keywords. So in summary, doable paper, few small tricky bits, but generally there was decent choice, good range of questions, and kind of rewarded those that were kind of checking the trends and also going through the past paper. So it was a nice mix and blend. Best of luck with the rest of your exams, and congratulations if you're finished. It's the last exam for some, so enjoy the summer. Hope the stress is off, and if you're still going. Just stay focused, not too long left, and then you'll be free.